The Network of University Legal Aid Institutions, NULAI Nigeria, a civil society organization, says it has resolved more than 1,400 pre-trial detention cases from 2018 to 2023 in the Federal Capital Territory and Kefi, Nasarawa State. The president of NULAI, Professor Ernest Ojukwu, represented by the executive director, Abuja Law Clinic, Dr. Mukhtar Nasiru, disclosed this at the Reforming Pretrial Detention in Nigeria Project Retrospective Outlook and Closeout Session in Abuja. The event was supported by the United States Department of State International Narcotics and Law Enforcement and Partners Global. Ojukwu, however, said that there had been a lot of problems of pre-trial detention in the country, which had resulted in overcrowding in the correctional centers. He said that with the efforts of the CSO, the period of adjournment had been reduced from 31 to 14 days.
There is no iota of doubt that this is the most impactful project that NULAI has ever been involved with. This is certain because the reports are showing some very amazing statistics of impacts that have actually been made on different fronts. Over 1,400 cases have been resolved. Over 400 or 500 students have been able to support pro bono lawyers to intervene in cases, and these cases have been resolved. Now, this is actually what clinical legal education has set out to do. When NULAI was established in 2003, the main mandate is to impact on our educational system and have law students who are going to be socially responsible and ethically conscious. And how can they be that? They cannot be socially responsible until they have the opportunity to practice law themselves out there. And there has been some project before RPDM, and NULAI has supported this project. But RPDM became the most impactful because it enables students to have a system that is giving them, opportunity to not only practice, but to work with lawyers to do all that is required by lawyers to be able to provide intervention to pretrial detainees. And that has been able to give the students to hone their skills, not only their skills but their values. Because in their interaction with the correctional centers and with the lawyers, they test their values, the values we teach them in class, and they also acquire a lot of knowledge.
Also speaking, David Green, Chargé d'Affaires, U.S. Embassy, Nigeria, said that Nigeria was not alone in facing the challenge of pre-trial detention.
A fundamental principle of any democratic society, like those of Nigeria and the United States, is not just rule of law, but that there must be a functioning justice system that undergirds that rule of law. So we can articulate the grand abstract principles of rule of law, justice system, but that does not really incorporate the very tough task of building and sustaining the effective institutions that are needed. And they're numerous, of course. Simple access to justice, court record systems, trained prosecutors, preservation of judicial independence, and of course a correction system that achieves its goals of humane detention, custody and rehabilitation of offenders, and reintegration into society where possible.
Similarly, NULAI's program director, Mrs. Odinaka Onye Lagi, represented by the organization's program manager, Mr. Mahmoud Yusuf, said the organization had been working with the Nigeria Correctional Services to achieve its goal.
The state of pretrial detention has pretty much been a little bit high because out of about 70,000 detainees, a little over 70,000 detainees we have in the Nigerian correctional in detention in the Nigerian Correctional Service across the states. We have like 63 who are pretrial detainees, which 63,000, which constitutes a high percentage of pretrial detainees. So I would say the problem with pretrial detention is a system-wide problem, not just with the correction, but from the point of entry. So you look at what are the courts doing, what are the prosecuting agencies doing, and then the resultant effect is the congestion and then the resultant pretrial situation we have across the country.
The Controller General, Nigerian Correction Service, Haliru Nababa, represented by the Controller Custodial Adamu Yahaya, appreciated NULAI's effort in reducing cases of pretrial detainees in the country.
We have given you people, most especially NULAI, an opportunity for long to have visited some of our prisons and render services. So, and I want to say it here on behalf of my principal, that the door will even be opened more and more for these very organizations. So whenever you are in need of us, come. His door is always open for an organization like you that is ready to assist us in alleviating our major challenges, which is overcrowdedness in Nigerian correctional service.
Director, Africa Partners Global, said her organization had been discussing issues relating to pretrial detention in Nigeria.
Out of a series of discussions about 5 years ago, where we have been discussing various issues related to pretrial detention in Nigeria and in the US, came the idea for this project that INL was willing to fund. I think we were realizing at the time that Nigeria had gone through a very progressive legal reform process where they had put in place the Administration for Criminal Justice Act that really gave a lot of opportunity to ensure that pretrial detention cases were handled more quickly in the courts, and that detention times were being reduced for those who are accused. And so out of that, we designed this program with the idea to, on the one hand, support the corrections and the courts to install digital solutions that help them be more effective in the management of cases, but on the other hand also ensure that the pretrial detainees have more access to legal aid, especially those who cannot afford it.